Okay. So just to review the first 4 chapters so that you'll have the context of what we're doing. And by the way, this book is very popular, so there's different translations. One is the translation that you have by Vesta and Alan Wallace. Another one is the one I'm using by Stephen Batchelor. So I might go back and forth between the 2 translations. So if something I'm reading isn't exactly like what's written in your, in this one, that's okay, It's just different translations of the same text. So in chapter 1 of the text, Shantideva talks about all the benefits of generating the bodhicitta, the awakening mind, the altruistic intention, and how it's the best thing in the whole universe. Yeah, how all happiness of all living beings comes from this intention, this altruistic intention to be of great benefit to all others by attaining enlightenment. And so he goes into great depth about how just a thought of kindness is beneficial to the world. So if that's so, then this bodhicitta that wants to become enlightened for their benefit is even of greater significance. And it's true, when we cultivate a mind that cherishes others, it brings us so much happiness because it alleviates from us all this incredible self-grasping and self-centeredness. Because when we're only thinking about ourselves, me, what I want, what I don't want, what I like, what I don't like, how people don't appreciate me enough, and they don't pay me enough, and they're mean to me, and all these self-centered thoughts, those thoughts plague us and destroy our happiness right now. And those thoughts also act as the motivation for doing very selfish actions and saying very selfish words. So when we're able to generate love and compassion and bodhicitta, it relieves us from the misery of our own self-centeredness. Yeah, so it's something really important. So look in your life, spend some time looking at your life and seeing how the self-centeredness, how your selfish thought causes you so much misery. I'm not saying that we're bad because we're selfish. That's not the issue. The issue is, does being selfish make us happy? If it doesn't make us happy, then let's get rid of it. Okay, so spend some time and watch your life and see if the mind that's always thinking about me, I, my, mine, see if that mind actually benefits you and brings you happiness. Okay? This is your homework assignment. You thought you were going to get away without any homework coming here? Okay. Then, chapter 2 of the book is saying, okay, there's so many benefits to having the bodhicitta, the altruistic intention, but what do we need to do to prepare our mind to generate it? And we need to purify our mind. We need to learn to rejoice at the happiness of others. We need to create a lot of merit by making offerings and prostrations. And so chapter 2 is a lot about preparing the mind to generate bodhicitta. Then chapter 3 is generating the bodhicitta and accepting the bodhisattva vow. So really saying, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm serious about this. I'm not gonna play around, but I'm actually going to take upon myself the discipline of a bodhisattva, because I see that this is really the most important thing to do in my life. Okay, so once we've generated bodhicitta and taken that discipline upon ourselves voluntarily, then chapter 4 talks about how to be conscientious so that our bodhicitta doesn't degenerate. Yeah, we have to learn to really value what is virtue and make that a priority in our life. Okay, so chapter 4 is about conscientiousness. Then chapter 5 is about guarding our introspective alertness, guarding our mindfulness and our introspective awareness. So this chapter talks about how to really be attentive in our daily life. Yeah, because so often we're kind of like space cases. Do you think? Are you ever a space case? Yeah. If somebody, when you get in the car to drive somewhere, okay, let's say you drove here, or you rode in the MRT, or you rode in the bus. Can you remember everything you thought about as you were coming here? If I say, what did you think about on your way here to Taipei? Can you remember? Okay, why not? Why can't we remember what we were even thinking about? Because we weren't paying attention. Our mind was just thinking thoughts, having emotions, living on automatic, and we weren't even aware of it. So we don't even know if we were thinking kind thoughts or if we were thinking mean thoughts, if our mind was engaged in virtue, if our mind was engaged in non-virtue. We have no idea because we're a space case. Okay, so that's why this chapter is so important, because we have to guard that introspective awareness and guard our mindfulness so that we don't just live like automatons and robots, but so that we're really aware each moment of our life and fully live our life in the way that we want to live our life, so that we can become the kind of person that we want to be and become the kind of person that we know we can be. Okay, so we're going to start with the first verse and start going through this chapter. Those who wish to guard their practice should very attentively guard their minds, for those who do not guard their minds will be unable to guard their practice. So if we want to practice the Dharma, we want to put the Buddha's teachings into practice and transform our mind, then we have to guard our minds. And by mind, I don't mean brain, okay? When we use the word mind here, we're talking about the whole part of us that is cognitive, that experiences, that is aware, okay? The brain is a physical organ, the mind is not, okay? And so mind isn't referring just to intellect, it's the whole experiential cognitive part of us. Okay? So if we really want to practice, we have to guard our mind. Our mind is extremely important. In this world, unsubdued and crazed elephants are incapable of causing such harms as the misery of the deepest hell, which can be caused by the unleashed elephant of my mind. Now, most of us would think that an unsubdued and crazy elephant would be extremely dangerous. Yeah. If you were somewhere and there was a mad elephant, would you kind of hang around and look? I think we'd all go tearing in the opposite direction, because we realize that a mad elephant is extremely dangerous. What this verse is saying is that an external mad elephant is nothing in comparison to the unsubdued mad elephant of our own mind. Okay? And we're usually kind of puzzled, because we usually think, big harm comes from outside of ourselves. So we need to protect our body, protect ourselves physically. But this verse is saying, actually, our mind can do us much more damage than some kind of external threat. Why is that? Because it's our mind that creates karma. Okay? It's our mind that acts, that induces mental activity, verbal actions, physical actions, And so due to all of these actions, these activities, our intentions, then karmas, actions, and they leave imprints on our mind stream. And then those imprints are what ripen in terms of what we experience. So whether we have a happy life or a miserable life, it's due to the causes that we ourselves have created. And these causes are nothing other than our own physical, verbal, and mental actions. Okay? And so if we don't watch our mind can create the cause for of suffering, more suffering than a terrorist could create, or a crazy elephant, or a nuclear bomb. Our mind can create much greater cause of suffering than any external thing. And the verses now go on to explain why that is. However, if the elephant of my mind is firmly bound on all sides by the rope of mindfulness, all fears will cease to exist, and all virtues will come into my hand. So if we're saying, how do I get rid of my fear? How do I have good experiences? How do I have the happiness I want? We have to subdue the elephant, the wild elephant of our mind, through the rope of mindfulness. Okay? So mindfulness is a very popular word now. In the US, there's a lot of people, a lot of scientists are doing research on mindfulness. Yeah, it's a Buddhist idea, mindfulness. It's a Buddhist word. And many people are seeing that mindfulness meditation and mindfulness in our life actually reduces a lot of fear and anxiety and different social problems. And so they're doing research on how to teach mindfulness even in the schools or in counseling sessions and so on. It's quite exciting, actually, to see these scientists who are not Buddhists get very interested in mindfulness. So if we're able to bind our mind by mindfulness, then our mind won't create so many negative actions. It won't be so uncontrolled. And in that way, we will stop creating the causes of suffering and instead create the causes of happiness. Because how does our mind create the cause of happiness and suffering? It happens in two ways. One is in terms of the karma we create. Excuse me. So let's say I'm really angry, I'm just like so enraged with somebody. And then I speak harshly to them. I talk badly about them behind their back. I'm just really full of anger. Well, what is going on in my mind, my thoughts, my words, my deeds are all motivated by this anger. So I'm creating physical, verbal, and mental karma through this anger. Yeah. Anger is an emotion that isn't in touch with reality, that is neither beneficial nor realistic. So it's going to create a ton of negative energy right now and put the seeds of negative karma in my mind stream. And then when those negative karmic seeds ripen, they're what caused me to meet a wild elephant or a terrorist or get in a traffic accident or have problems at work or have a bad family life. Okay, my own actions are what create the experiences that I find myself in. So when we're unhappy, we can't point our finger at somebody else as the cause of our unhappiness, because the root thing is the actions, the karma we ourselves created that are bringing about the events we're experiencing. So that's one way in which our mind creates our misery. Or when we create positive karma, then our mind creates happiness, the causes of happiness. And so, it's due to good karma that we had food to eat today, that we have friends, that we're able to come together and hear the Dharma and share the Dharma together, that we live in a peaceful country, in a prosperous country. That's all due to positive karma. A second way in which our minds cause either suffering or happiness is in terms of what's going on them at this very moment. So, for example, when I'm angry, not only does my anger create karma, which brings me suffering, but right now, in this very moment, when I'm angry, am I happy? Any of you happy when you're angry? No, we're not happy when we're angry, are we? So anger, jealousy, arrogance, these kinds of things, even greed, when greed is flushing through our mind, is our mind peaceful and tranquil? No, it's completely full of dissatisfaction and craving. Okay, so we can see that the afflictions, the disturbing attitudes and negative emotions, they not only cause us to create karma, but right at the very moment that they're manifest and active in our mind, they cause us misery. Okay, so there's nothing good about these disturbing emotions. Confusion, jealousy, arrogance, conceit, greed, craving, clinging, laziness. So all these things, they don't bring us happiness. Verse 4 says, tigers, lions, elephants, bears, snakes, and all forms of enemies, the guardians of the hell worlds, evil spirits and cannibals, will all be bound by binding my mind alone, and will all be subdued by subduing my mind alone. So rather than, be so afraid of all these external beings hurting us, then recognize if we subdue our own mind and abandon the afflictions and abandon the harmful karma, then none of these things can hurt us, because we're not creating the cause for suffering. So none of these things can hurt us. Okay? It's a very different way of thinking, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So then you're going to say, well, what about a terrorist? Are you just saying bind my own mind and protect my own mind, and that way a terrorist won't harm me? Don't we also have to do something to protect ourselves against terrorists in society? Yes, we do. okay? But at the same time, we're doing external activities to protect ourselves. It's of utmost importance that we do internal activities and stop creating the cause to receive harm. Because if we don't create the negative karma, even there's terrorists, we're not going to be there when the terrorists are doing naughty things. Okay? So this is a different way of thinking, because we have to ask ourselves sometimes, why do certain people meet with difficulties and other people don't meet with those same difficulties? You know? So when on September 11th, why were some people in the World Trade Center and other people who are usually there didn't go to work that day and weren't there? Why? Why? So this has to do with our karma. Yeah, if we create the cause to be harmed, we're going to be there at that time when the harm is done. If we didn't create the cause, then something's going to come up and we're not going to be there at the time the harm is done. Okay? So we not only have to work at external means to protect society, but especially internal means. Yeah? And so that's why having a kind heart is our best protection, because when we act with a kind heart, we don't create the negative karma that ripens in suffering. Remember that next time when you're getting ready to get really angry at somebody, okay? You know how when you're really angry and you're thinking of exactly the right words to I'm gonna get that person, then ask yourself, stop at that point and say, first of all, is this mental state causing me happiness? No. Second, what kind of karma am I creating by acting with this kind of hatred? Am I creating good karma or bad karma? I'm creating bad karma because I have such a negative, harmful motivation. So who's going to suffer when I create negative karma? Well, somebody else might suffer immediately, but I'm creating the cause for my own suffering. So do I really want to create the cause for my own suffering by telling this person off? Do I really want to create the cause for my own suffering by cheating this person in the business deal? We have to ask ourselves these questions. And when we think about them, then it's clear, no, I want myself to be happy. I don't want to create the cause of my own misery. So then we leave these actions aside. We don't get involved in them. Okay, verse 6. The perfect teacher, referring to the Buddha, the perfect teacher himself has shown that in this way all fears, as well as all boundless miseries, originate from the mind. And so this is the core of the Buddha's teachings, that all of our suffering, all of our happiness originate inside here. Yeah, it's very different than our usual attitude. We usually think happiness and suffering comes from outside. But you know, if we really think about these teachings and if we really observe our own experience, we'll see that actually happiness and suffering come from inside our own mind and what we're thinking. Who intentionally created all the weapons for those in hell? Who created the burning iron ground? And from where did the women in hell ensue? Okay, so who created hell? Yeah, it's not an external creation. It's the creation of our own negative karma. When it talks about the women in hell, there's one hell realm in which somebody can be born where their dear ones, their relatives, seem to be at the top of a tree, But to get to the top of the tree to be with them, all the leaves are made of swords. So you get all cut up climbing to the top of the tree to be with your loved ones up there. And as soon as you get to the top, then you hear their voices down at the bottom, and you climb down again to be with your loved ones. And again, you're getting marred by all these leaves that are made out of knife blades. Okay? So what this is saying is this whole situation, when we talk about unfortunate rebirths, they're all created by our mind. Yeah? They're not created by some kind of external being. There's no God running this universe who creates hell and then tells us to get born there. That certainly wouldn't be a very compassionate thing to do, would it? Yeah. But rather, the realms of intense suffering are karmic creations from our own mind. The Mighty One, the Buddha, has said that all such things are the workings of a negative mind. Hence, within the 3 world spheres, there's nothing to fear other than my mind. That's pretty powerful, isn't it? There's nothing to fear other than my own mind. And if we really think about karma and we really think about the nature of the mind, we'll see that's so true. That to fear our own ignorance, anger, and attachment, to be afraid of those, makes sense, because those are the things that actually cause our misery. To be afraid of other sentient beings doesn't make so much sense, because those other sentient beings cannot inflict as much harm on us as our own wild elephant mind. Okay, now the next verse is going to talk again about the power of the mind. So Shantideva says, if the perfection of generosity were the alleviation of the world's poverty, then since beings are still starving now, in what manner did the previous Buddhas perfect it? In other words, if the perfection of generosity, which is a practice that all the Buddhas have done, if it is only perfected by the alleviation of poverty in the world, then we don't see the perfect alleviation of poverty in the world, do we? We still see a lot of poverty. And yet we say that the Buddhas have perfected generosity. Well, how can this be if there's still poverty? So what Shantideva is explaining here is that perfecting generosity doesn't mean that there's no poverty remaining in the world. What perfecting generosity means is that there is no stinginess, no miserliness, no clinging and attachment in our own mind. So a mind that is free of all that, is completely generous. Yeah? And so that's how the previous Buddhas perfected their generosity. Okay? The perfection of generosity is said to be the thought to give all beings everything, together with the fruit of such a thought. Hence, it is simply a state of mind. Okay, so generosity is just a state of mind, and it's the thought to give all beings everything, and to give them also the merit that we create by being generous. Okay, that's the perfection of generosity. Having that thought to give all beings everything is pretty noble, isn't it? Can you do that? Can we even think about giving away everything to others? We don't even want to think about it. This is mine. You can't have it. I'm not sharing it with you. It's mine. Yeah. You want generosity? Ask somebody else. Okay. I'm being generous to myself. I'm taking care of number one. Okay? That's the stingy mind. Okay. Nowhere has the killing of fish and other creatures been eradicated, for the attainment of merely the thought to forsake such things is explained as the perfection of moral discipline. Okay, so moral discipline or ethical conduct means non-harmfulness, ahimsa. It's what Gandhiji, and His Holiness Dalai Lama and Mother Teresa all talk about. Okay, so is nonviolence, to be nonviolence, does that mean, or to perfect that ethical conduct that is nonviolent, does that mean that nobody's ever going to go fishing again, and nobody's ever going to beat anybody else again, and there's never going to be any wars in the world? Well, no, because again, perfecting ethical conduct doesn't mean that the Buddhas have to have fixed everything in the external world. What they did is they abandoned any wish to harm others in their own mind. Okay? So when we abandon the wish to harm others in our mind, then, ethical conduct has been attained because everybody is safe with us. Ethical conduct is a marvelous way to contribute to world peace. Because when we keep good ethical conduct, when we restrain ourselves from harming others, then everybody feels safe around us. Nobody gets jittery. Nobody's afraid we're going to haul off and punch them in the nose. Nobody's afraid that we're going to steal their things. Nobody's afraid that we're going to sleep with wives. Nobody's afraid that we're going to lie to them. Okay? So it creates, ethical conduct creates an incredible feeling of safety in the world. And that brings peace on our planet. So think about it. Okay, what would happen if for one day everybody kept the precept not to kill? Okay, in Buddhism we talk about 5 precepts, right? Not to kill, steal, have unwise or unkind sexual behavior, lie, or take intoxicants. Let's just take one precept, the first one, not to kill. Let's say for one day everybody in this planet kept that precept. Wouldn't our planet be very, very different? Imagine what would be on the headlines of the newspaper. It wouldn't be about killing, it wouldn't be about war, because everybody would be keeping that precept. Actually, what I've noticed is in Singapore, your newspaper doesn't talk about war. It talks about money. The headlines every day. Have you noticed it? Every day the headlines are about investments, money, the currency, this, that, and the other thing. People getting killed in Afghanistan, people, getting killed in Iraq and Somalia. No mention. According to Singapore newspapers, there's no wars in this world. I wish it were so, But I've noticed that all the headlines are about money. Okay. Verse 12. Unruly beings are as unlimited as space. They cannot possibly all be overcome. However, if I overcome thoughts of anger alone, this will be equivalent to vanquishing all foes. Unruly beings are unlimited as space. Okay, so obnoxious colleagues, children who don't listen to you, neighbors who blast their TV in the middle of the night, people who cut you off on the highway, people who cheat you at work. These people are unlimited. Aren't they? So we can try and control the whole world and get rid of all the people we don't like. Kick them all out, okay? You do something I don't like, I kick you out. So it would be very interesting, You have a big room, and in it are all sentient beings. And every time somebody does something that you don't like, you kick them out of the room, okay? What's going to happen after a year? Who's going to be in the room? Me. Nobody else. Because I'll have gotten angry at every single other person and kicked them out. So it's going to be pretty lonely. My anger makes me pretty lonely. Okay? So we can't possibly overcome all the external beings who drive us buggy, However, if we overcome our own thoughts of anger, then all external foes are overcome. Okay? Because what is it that makes somebody an enemy? It's our anger. Somebody doesn't become an enemy by themselves. We make them into an enemy by getting angry at them. If we don't get angry at them, they don't become an enemy. They just become another sentient being. But when we get angry at them, we make them into an enemy. Okay? And so as long as we have anger, there's going to be so many problems with other people. We can change from this job to that job. We can change from this partner to another partner. We can change this and that. But as long as we have anger inside of ourselves, we're going to find somebody to be mad at, and we're going to be miserable. Okay? The only way to get rid of all that misery is to get rid of our anger. So Shantideva says, where would I possibly find enough leather with which to cover the surface of the earth? Yet wearing leather just on the soles of my shoes is equivalent to covering the earth with it. Okay, so let's say that the surface of the earth is all full of thorns and rocks and nasty things. And we want to get rid of them so we can walk comfortably and not step on thorns and sharp rocks. And try and get rid of all the other people around us that we think are so obnoxious. Or we can protect our own mind by the leather of practicing patience and fortitude, and thereby lessening our anger, and then we won't have so many enemies. Make some sense to you? Yeah? If the whole surface of the earth is like thorny and rocky and everything, you can put asphalt everywhere. Looks like we're trying to do that, doesn't it? Yeah? What do you grow? And sometimes people ask me, what do they grow in Singapore? I say, asphalt. Yeah? Because that's what you see more of growing every year. But, that asphalt It only protects certain areas. It can't protect us from all harm on our feet. But wearing shoes can do that. So similarly, trying to get rid of everybody we don't like is impossible, but protecting our own mind will stop all enemies. Okay. Likewise, it is not possible for me to restrain the external course of things. But should I restrain this mind of mine, what would be the need to restrain all else? Likewise, it is not possible for me to restrain the external course of things. Can we control other people? Can we control the world? We can't control the external world. We keep trying to, don't we? We keep trying to control other people, trying to control what they do. But we're never successful. We're never successful. We have so much good advice for everybody that if they only followed it, we would be happy. And we tell them all of our wonderful advice, like, shut up and listen to me. And then they don't follow it. They don't listen to our advice. And they tell us to shut up and listen to them. Oh, so rude. Okay. So we try so hard to control all these other people. We can't do it. Yeah, it's impossible. But if we learn to control our own negative emotions, then we don't have to control everybody else. Because if we control our mind so that we don't have any anger, then we're not going to have any enemies. If we don't have anger, we don't have enemies. If we don't have greed, we don't have this feeling of constantly lacking and needing something and wanting something. Yeah? If we don't have greed, we have contentment. I mean, what is it that makes us discontent? Is it not being able to get what we want? Or is it the fact that our mind wants something, and then it wants something else, and then it craves something else, and then it clings to something else? It's the craving and clinging that cause us the suffering, not the not getting what we want. So if we're able to control the attachment in our mind, control the greed, then however much we have, it's good enough. So that's the way to have financial security. Yeah. Because we're never going to get financial security by getting more money, are we? Because as soon as you get more money, you want more. Yeah. We have $100. Oh, I don't have enough. I need 1,000. We get 1,000. Oh, I'm so poor. I only have 1,000. I need 10,000. We work very hard. We get 10,000. Oh, but still everything could change, and $10,000 isn't going to cover everything I want. I need 100,000. So we work very hard. We get $100,000. Oh, I still don't feel financially secure. The stock market could change like that, and I lose my $100,000. I need $1 million. Yeah. And it goes on and on and on like that, never finding financial security. But as soon as we have a heart that is free of attachment and a heart that's free of greed, then however much we have, we feel content. It's very curious, isn't it? That contentment does not depend on how much money you have. Contentment depends on how you think about the possessions you have, how you think about the money you have, not how much you have. Yeah, you can have somebody who's very poor who has so much contentment in their life. And you can have somebody that has enormous wealth and is extremely discontent, has no mental peace. It's true, isn't it? It's true. So it depends on our mind. That's why he says, but should I restrain this mind of mine, what would be the need to restrain all else? We wouldn't need to. Okay. Although the development of merely a clear state of concentration can result in taking birth in Brahma's realm, physical and vocal actions cannot so result when accompanied by a weak mental conduct. So what this is saying is that there are celestial realms where people get born because of very deep states of concentration. And so the Brahma realms are these kinds of celestial realms. So if you're able to have very deep states of concentration, they can cause you to be born in these very blissful celestial states. Okay, and that's just by learning how to concentrate the mind in meditation. But even if we have physical and verbal actions, if they don't have a powerful mental component, if they don't have a powerful intention or motivation behind them, they cannot bring us such kind of upper rebirths, such kind of peaceful rebirths. Okay? So a mental state of concentration can bring a very peaceful rebirth that not even physical and verbal actions can bring if those physical and verbal actions have a very weak intention or a weak motivation. So the whole point here is that if we want to create good karma, it's going to depend on the power of our intention, the power of our motivation. It's not going to depend so much on the external action, but more on, do we have a really virtuous mental intention to do it? Okay, so this is kind of the difference. When you give an offering to somebody, you can give an offering and just go, oh, okay, yeah, here, that's yours. Okay, maybe even, you're giving a check to a charity for $1 million, and you go, oh, okay, here, there's your $1 million. Is that a very virtuous action of charity? You might say, well, they're given $1 million, that's pretty generous. But is their mind generous? Their mind's not generous. Their mind's just, here, take it, Okay, that's not a generous mind. So, they could be creating so much good karma giving that offering, but they're not, because they don't have a powerful motivation. They're not thinking, oh, wow, I'm very fortunate that I have these funds. I want to give them to this charity because they're helping so many people. They're doing so much good in this world. I really want to help these people who are doing good in the world because it spreads goodness in the world. It spreads happiness on the planet. I really want to support this kind of thing. So somebody who thinks like that, even they give $10, creates much more merit, much more virtue than the person who gives $1 million just by throwing it on the table. Okay? So we always should take time to really cultivate a very strong, intense, positive motivation when we're doing something so that we can really reap the benefits of our virtuous action. Okay. Let's see. The knower of reality, again the Buddha, has said that even if recitation and physical hardships are practiced for long periods of time, they will be meaningless if the mind is distracted elsewhere. So even though somebody may practice physical hardships, even though somebody may chant up, down, and across, and chant 25 hours a day, if their mind is distracted elsewhere, their activity is meaningless. So this is a real word of caution to us, that when we do chanting, we need to pay attention to what we're chanting. We need to focus on what we're chanting. We're not tape recorders, are we? Although sometimes our chanting is like a tape recorder. Yeah. Oh, Namo Kansi Yin Pusa, Namo Kansi Yin Pusa. Oh, Namo Kansi Yin Pusa, Namo Kansi Yin Pusa, Namo Kansi Yin Pusa, Namo Kansi. Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha. Oh, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha. Oh, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha. Okay? So the mind's distracted elsewhere. Are we creating any virtue? Okay? So the whole thing when we're doing a virtuous action is we have to be able to focus the mind, have a strong intention. That's why at the beginning of our talk, we started out with generating the bodhicitta intention, so that we create some strong virtue here while we're here together. Okay? So that's why every day when you wake up in the morning, first thing you should do in the morning is generate a strong virtuous intention and think, today I'm not going to harm anybody. And today, as much as possible, I want to benefit others. And I also want to hold on to this bodhicitta motivation as much as I can and practice it as much as I can today. Okay? That way we really use our time wisely and create a lot of merit. Okay, so we're going to pause here for this evening. I think you might have some questions or comments. So please, you can either ask from the floor, or you can write it down on a piece of paper and the ushers will bring it up. Anybody have a question they want to ask from the floor?
Is there anyone who needs the mic? Yes? Would you like to come forward if you need the mic?
Venerable, talking about concentration and developing the bodhicitta, what if we are distracted by physical things like a cold?
What about what?
We are distracted by physical things which is hard to, like we are cold, so the mind is wandering,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What would you advise us?
Yeah. Okay, so let's say we're trying to develop concentration or bodhicitta, but the aircon's too strong. or sometimes the aircon's not strong enough. Yeah. Yeah. So the mind wanders because of the physical sensations. We have to learn to control our mind that wanders. We have to learn. It's like the wild elephant wandering off. With the hook of mindfulness, we have to bring it back. So, okay, it's cold, but I'm not going to die from the cold. I'm not going to get frostbite here. I can manage. So let's bring my attention back to my meditation object. Okay? And so you just practice bringing your attention back. You'll notice that when you're really into your meditation, you won't notice the cold. It's like, for example, if you're meditating and you start thinking of some really good food that you're going to have later on, are you paying attention to the cold? Is the cold going to distract you from thinking about the delicious meal that you're going to eat? I don't think so. I think we can do perfect good. We sit here. Let's see. Bihun. Oh, and this dish, and that dish, and the other dish, and chocolate cake for dessert. Oh, I'm close to nirvana. Yeah? You don't notice the cold at all. Yeah? So in the same way that an object of attachment, rivets us, we have to make whatever object we're meditating on that riveting, so that cold or heat or whatever, we just don't get involved in it and we keep focused on our principal object. Okay? Or if it's really cold and you can't get your mind off the cold, then think that you are, then do the taking and giving meditation, and think that you're taking the suffering of the cold away from the beings in the cold hell, and you're giving them warmth. Or think that you're giving the cold that you experience to the beings in the hot hells, and it cools them off and chills them out. So you bring the physical distraction into your meditation, but you use it to create thoughts of generosity and kindness. Okay. Okay, so how can we best or wisely guard our mind against pleasures, especially unwholesome ones? Okay, well, one thing to be very clear about, pleasure is not bad. Okay, there's nothing wrong with having pleasure. There's nothing wrong with happiness. The Buddha wants us to be happy. Okay, what we want to avoid is craving for pleasure, attachment to pleasure, doing negative actions in order to get pleasure. That's what we want to avoid. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with happiness. It's what we do in order to get it that can either be wholesome or unwholesome. So if we get involved in negative actions in an attempt to be happy, then we're actually creating the cause of suffering. And so to hold ourselves back from doing that, then it can be very helpful to think, okay, let's make an example here. I can lie to somebody in order to get some possession that I want. Okay? The situation is such that if I lie to somebody, I'll get what I want. Yeah, get that pleasure. Now, how do we deal with that? Then we say to ourselves, okay, I can lie and experience that pleasure, but how long is that pleasure going to last? How long does the pleasure last? It doesn't last very long, does it? Yeah. So, but when I lie to somebody, I'm creating negative karma. I'm going to destroy the trust in the relationship with other people. Yeah, is that lying might bring the advantage of getting that pleasure, but it's also going to bring me a whole lot of disadvantage. So maybe I better not do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Okay? Or for example, like with the third precept, to abandon adultery. Yeah? Or even if you're single going in a relationship with somebody who is. You might say, oh, well, nobody's looking. Yeah, I can jump in bed with this person. My husband, my wife won't know. Their husband, their wife won't know. It's fine. Let's have a little pleasure here. Okay? So you have a little pleasure. How long does it last? Not so long. But then what are the results of that? Yeah. Then karmically, creating a lot of negative karma for unfortunate rebirth. And then what happens when your spouse does find out? And what happens when your kids find out? Then you have a whole lot of problems for a little bit of pleasure. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? All the men are sitting there like this. Yeah, it's worth it. Think again. Okay, other questions? Okay. Okay, so somebody's asking for a dedication, which we'll do at the end. Do we have to be vegetarian? No. It's nice to be vegetarian. It's really nice to be vegetarian. And I'm sure all the animals would appreciate it. But what's important is that you don't kill an animal yourself. You don't ask somebody to kill it for you, and you don't eat it if you know that it's been killed specifically for you. So those are the 3 important conditions not to eat the meat. On top of that, if you can be vegetarian, think of how happy all the other animals are going to be because they're not going to be eaten. Yeah. Somebody wrote me an email, and he said that he tabulated that by being vegetarian, because he would eat a lot of beef, which is a big animal. He said that by being vegetarian, he realized that he's saving 100 lives every year. And the thought of saving 100 lives made him feel so happy that he decided to be vegetarian. If you eat small animals, fish and prawns, then sometimes even if you're not vegetarian for a year, just one night, you save so many lives. So it's nice if you can be. Okay, so somebody's saying that they find that the book that I'm using is easier to understand than the translation that you have copied here. So they want to know, it's called A Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life by Shantideva, and the translation is by Stephen Batchelor, and it's published by the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives in India. Okay, for those of you who want to get a copy, this copy. Is it okay to donate our organs and heart, kidney, liver, eyes when we die? This is a personal decision. Some people may feel, yes, I really want to donate my organs so that somebody else can have them. And they feel very strongly about it. And that's really virtuous to do that. Other people may feel, Well, they take the organs out right after your breath stops, and my consciousness may not have left my body then, so I don't feel quite so comfortable with them taking my organs at that point. And so another person may decide no, not to donate their organs. So it's really a personal choice, and somebody can have a virtuous aspiration for both choices. Yeah, depends on what they're thinking. Okay, so how does a bodhisattva like Kuan Yin live each day? What do they do in a day? They work for the benefit of sentient beings from morning till night. Okay? So Kuan Yin, every day, the whole day, all day is dedicated to benefiting sentient beings. So whether it's by doing some small action, whether it's by giving them Dharma teachings, whether it's by giving them medicine, whether it's by teaching them how to purify their karma, there's so many different kinds of activities that Kuan Yin can do, and she manifests in so many different forms in order to benefit sentient beings. And all day long, this is what Kuan Yin does. And even when Kuan Yin's sleeping, still benefiting sentient beings. Okay? So not like us, kind of, we do some small thing and we expect an award and a thank you, and then we get tired, you know. Kind of, oh, I helped somebody carry some boxes today. That's the limit of my kindness and help to sentient beings, you know. So, no, you know, Kuan Yin just is like, oh, there's somebody to help? Yippee! You know? And so this comes about through the mental training, through training the mind so that you really take delight in being of benefit and service. Oh, can you explain the three world spheres in verse 8? Okay. The three world spheres, we talk about, there's three realms within cyclic existence. One is called the desire realm, the form realm, the formless realm. So the desire realm is the realm that we're in right now, where sentient beings are overpowered by desire. Like we are, aren't we? We're always wanting. Okay? So the desire realm includes the hell realms, the hungry ghosts, the animals, human beings, and then certain celestial beings who have a lot of sense pleasure. So that's the desire realm. Then the form realm is constituted by different levels of beings who are, or it's constituted by beings who are in different levels of very deep samadhi and concentration. So it's called the form realm because they still have a physical form, albeit a much more refined form than we have. Okay, and they abide a large part of their day in states of deep concentration. And then the third realm is called the formless realm. And those beings are in very, very rarefied and refined states of samadhi and concentration. So much so that they don't have gross physical bodies. So those are the three realms of cyclic existence. So whether you're born in any of the three, it's always by the force of afflictions and karma. So that's why we want to renounce cyclic existence and attain nirvana, attain enlightenment. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.